ETB is one of the most important companies of telecommunication in Colombia, especially in Bogota. The owner of this company has always been Bogota's district, but since Enrique Peñalosa became the mayor of Bogota for a second time, a process of selling this company has begun. The main reason the mayor gave for selling ETB was that government needs money for making possible the development plan, which mainly includes security and infrastructure. Additionally, there are other reasons based on the growth of competition between telecommunication companies. Peñalosa thinks that ETB needs to be privatized because the competition has increased, and if Bogota's district maintains administrative control over ETB, they could be easily defeated by their competition. This could possibly happen because Bogota's district isn't specialized in telecommunications and also has more important things to do. Nevertheless, this decision has caused a controversy because ETB workers are against the privatization of the company.
Issue of ETB sales involved the government of Colombia, ETB, and the private company. The government of Colombia was seeing that ETB was having a decreasing net profit in the last years, so it was not a good support for the economy of the country. While the price of selling it each year it increased, so government is seeing what is better for them, to sell the company or to stay with it. Enrique Peñalosa, the mayor of Bogota, says that with the money earned by the sale of ETB, he is going to invest in education for the country. ETB is in a difficult position because they don't have much vote in what happens with them, because the owner is the government of Colombia that have most of the percentage of the company, while the private company thinks that buying the ETB will be a good investment for a main reason. When buying a public company, they become owners of public materials which generate high incomes on them.
One important concept to analyze throughout this video is the concept of privatization. According to the Economist Dictionary, this concept is understood as the action of selling state-owned businesses or companies to private investors. This policy gained popularity after Margaret Thatcher's government, which was one of the governments with the highest privatization rates, where she sold public companies such as British Telecom, British Gas, and electricity and water companies. This had a great impact on the economy because, as she believed, the private sector is more effective due to a profit motive and the pursuit of a greater efficiency for gains. Also, it became part of transforming a state-owned market into a competitive market with deregulations and liberalization. These two acted as incentives for public companies to be more effective and, as a whole, to have a more competitive market. Competitive markets tend to increment capital or extend the market in a country because there is a higher level of trade and division of labor becomes necessary.
Like most of the political decisions viewed from different perspectives, privatization has consequences in many aspects of the society, such as the political, cultural, social, and of course, economic aspect. Those consequences can be either positive or negative. The negative consequences of privatization are what we are going to call disadvantages. In general terms, the biggest disadvantage of privatization that has to do with all the aspects is unemployment. Unemployment has repercussions in the social and cultural aspect because the ones that lose their job when the company is privatized are the low classes, which usually have less education and are less likely to get a well-paid job. It has repercussions on the economic aspect because people's capacity to afford goods and services decreases, which affects directly in the market and the performance of production, which lowers the demand and also decreases the supply. For this reason, the political aspect is also affected by unemployment. Bad decisions in this type of scenarios can lead to an economic crisis. Another disadvantage is that selling the public companies to private groups increases the private's wealth and decreases the public's long-term wealth. However, there can be benefits out of privatization, and this depends on the management the private groups give to the company in most of the cases. The result of this is an increase in wealth and in the economic competitiveness of the country due to the new monetary capacity of the company, which also raises the country's monetary capacity. Also taking into account that the private company needs to keep an image of trustability and efficiency. For instance, a private firm is interested in making profit, so it is more likely to cut costs and be more efficient. In this way, the country becomes more competitive because the companies that are part of its economy improve their services because the responsibility increases. In the specific case of ETB's privatization, the benefits would come from the fact that the company, before it was sold, had very low income and it was not efficient, which generated loss. Also, the new resources gained are used to help the city. 30 schools built, 4 hospitals, 4,000 security cameras, and 2 sports centers that include 100 soccer fields throughout the city. The disadvantages in this case would be principally the loss of the property of one of the biggest companies in the history of Bogota.
Some of the principles of Malthus could be applied to the privatization of ETB. When a private company buys a public company, this employment can increase because the private company doesn't want to maintain the company working. If this happens, the minimum wage from which those people got their necessary needs for living are no more present. This causes people to fall into misery or characteristics of misery like hunger and poverty. This, after a long term, will become a positive check, reducing the working population of the previous public company. Of course, this case will only happen if those people didn't get a new job.
On the other hand, the principle of division of labor by Adam Smith could be applied to the privatization of ETBs, and Smith would have agreed on this. Why? Division of labor principle supports the idea that assigns services production to those who know how to produce that service. We call this the specialists. In this way, if a public sector is not producing the service in a proper way, it is reasonable to sell the company to a private firm that can handle the service and make good things out of it.
We think that ETB should be sold because it is no longer a productive way of increasing the monetary fund of the government due to the fact that the competition between telecommunications companies has become harder. ETB needs a private owner for regaining the level that they had before companies like Claro arrived to the market. However, the new owner of the company should give a positive change to the company so they are able to compete against the other companies. We also think that maybe some employees are against the privatization of the company because they are afraid of losing their jobs. So we propose that the new owner should regulate the efficiency of the employees so that inefficient workers are fired. Nevertheless, we think that the new owner should not be able to fire more than 10% of the employees, so a massive unemployment is avoided.